Someone once said, "Billy Idol doesn't sing punk, he lives punk." When the rest of the world still hesitated before the rising wave of rebellion, he stepped into the spotlight and screamed, "Rebel yell," as if he were setting himself on fire. He once risked handing over the master tapes of his album to a heroin kingpin, just to protect the art. He lived in a multi-million-dollar glass mansion with a Playboy grotto-style pool, and drove an AC Cobra through the California night like he was racing against fate. But that same man once lay motionless in a hospital bed after a horrific motorcycle accident, nearly losing a leg, nearly losing everything. He looked at his bandaged body and realized, rebellion only matters if you live to tell the tale. So what saved Billy Idol? What kept him standing amid fame, addiction, and scandal? And that freedom, for someone who challenged every limit. Was it worth it? Let's find the answer together. Before becoming Billy Idol, the punk rock icon with platinum-spiked hair and a defiant stare, he was just a boy named William Michael Albert Broad. Born on November 30th, 1955, in the seaside town of Worthing, West Sussex, England, Billy grew up in a middle-class family, not wealthy, but full of ambition. His father was a dedicated salesman, always dreaming of a stable life for his son, a desk job, a peaceful home. Meanwhile, his mother, with Irish blood from the port city of Cork, often told stories of freedom fighters, those who challenged fate. Perhaps it was she who, without meaning to, planted in him a bit of that indomitable spirit. A quiet fire in his heart, waiting for the day it would ignite. In 1958, when Billy was just a 2-year-old toddler barely speaking, his family decided to leave gloomy England in search of a brighter future in the land of stars and stripes. They moved to Patchogue, New York, the heart of the American dream. Picture a tiny blonde boy, wide-eyed at the sight of endless Cadillacs, glowing neon lights, and the sound of rock and roll blaring from Zenith radios. It was those sounds, the screeching electric guitars, the snarling vocals, that sowed the seeds of a burning passion in Billy's young heart. But the American dream didn't last. In 1962, the family returned to England, this time to the town of Dorking, Surrey. Life here was much harsher. A small house, cold weather, and a slow pace. Billy spent hours lost in books, dreaming of another world. He once joined the Boy Scouts, but was expelled at age 10, just for kissing a girl. Perhaps that was the first sign of the quiet rebellion stirring within him. During those years, Billy struggled to fit in with most of his peers. His American-accented English made him stand out in classrooms filled with native-born Brits. He didn't like football, wasn't good at math, and was always dreaming. 3 things that made him a shadowy outsider on the schoolyard. During recess, he often wandered alone, always with an old music magazine in hand, as if searching for a way out of a place he didn't belong. But deep within that boy was a silent tug-of-war. Between 2 worlds, 2 identities. In America, Billy had been that British kid. Back in England, he was now seen as that weird American boy. He didn't belong anywhere. That sense of displacement only grew inside him, creating a void that only music would later fill. And during those days, no one knew that Billy would often stay up late alone, sitting by the window staring at Surrey's gray sky. One stormy night, he placed an old guitar on his knee, strumming off-key chords under a flickering yellow light. Outside, the rain poured down hard. But inside, Billy was already hearing the roar of an imaginary stage, the crowd chanting his name, and the dream, though distant, burned even brighter in the dark. In 1971, the family moved to Bromley, South London. Billy attended Ravensbourne School for Boys. He wasn't the model student, often lost in daydreams during class, earning him the nickname Idle from teachers. A word meant to scold, but Billy turned it into a declaration. And from there, the name Billy Idle was born. The punk rock world gradually unfolded before him, through late-night hangouts at Malcolm McLaren's SEX boutique, through the songs of the Sex Pistols, angry, defiant, and burning like fire. Some say Billy once curled up all night on a park bench in Hyde Park just to get front row at a secret Sex Pistols gig. Why? To be at the front of that misty, frenzied crowd. There were nights he snuck out of the house in the rain, coat soaked through, just to carry his old guitar to an impromptu jam session in a friend's garage. Those moments, small as they seemed, said it all. The determination, the fire of passion, the hunger to break free from all limits. Maybe, if Billy had listened to his father then, closed the book on his dreams, and applied for an office job like everyone else, the world would have never heard the furious scream of rebel yell. MTV would have never had a platinum-haired, leather-clad icon, and teenagers wouldn't have had an idol to rise up with. But Billy, the boy once lost between two continents, chose to swim against the current, chose passion over stability, chose rebellion over silence. Billy had no college degree, no family connections, and certainly no approval from society. But he had one thing no school could ever teach: the belief that he was born to rebel. And from those days on, Billy began the journey of turning his dream into reality. A journey far from easy, but ablaze with fire. The first turning point came in 1976, when Billy Idol joined Chelsea, a rising punk band in London. He didn't take the role of lead singer but played guitar. Yet after only a short time, Billy and his close friend Tony James left the group to create something bolder, crazier, a band of their own. And so, Generation X was born. At that moment, Billy made a choice few young men dared to make. He put down the guitar, stepped into the spotlight, and became the lead vocalist. He dyed his hair platinum, dressed in leather, wore eyeliner, and stood center stage like a rebellious god. Generation X quickly made waves in the punk scene with wild, raw, and intensely vibrant songs. In 1977, they signed with Chrysalis Records and released a series of hits like King Rocker, a song that practically became an anthem for a generation of teenagers searching for identity in the chaotic world of the 70s. But punk, with all its explosive energy, burned out just as fast. By 1980, after 3 albums and a few commercially disappointing tours, Generation X disbanded. Billy fell into crisis. No money, no direction, no idea what to do next. He stood in the wreckage of the band, wondering if he still had a shot. But deep down, he knew he wasn't finished. It was a dark time. Some nights, he had to crash on friends' couches or stay in a drafty rented flat with no heating in the middle of a London winter. But even when everything seemed to hit rock bottom, the fire inside Billy still burned. He didn't fall. During those years, Billy got caught up in a minor scandal. Small, but enough for the tabloids to blow up. After a gig with Generation X, he was said to have drunk too much and caused a scene at a bar in Soho. Some claimed he smashed a glass. Others said he challenged a bouncer to a fight. The story became a favorite of the underground press. Later, when asked about it, Billy just smirked. That? Just the pain of youth. I barely even remember it. That's Billy Idol, never denying the past, but never letting it hold him back either. In 1981, he once again packed his bags and left his homeland. But this time, It was a one-way trip. With a Gretsch country gentleman guitar and a worn-out fabric suitcase, Billy arrived in New York City, a place he called seductive chaos. He rented a shabby apartment in the West Village, where every night, ambulance sirens blended with disco music blasting from nearby gay bars. It was there he met Steve Stevens, a gifted guitarist with wild hair and a soul as fiery as his own. The two quickly clicked, forming a creative duo that began making noise in New York's underground scene. In 1982, Billy released his self-titled debut solo album, Billy Idol, featuring tracks like White Wedding and Dancing with Myself. While it didn't instantly skyrocket to the top, it was the clearest statement yet. Billy Idol was ready for the spotlight. But it wasn't just about the music. In those early American years, Billy began to fall into another darker world, the one that often comes hand in hand with fame. Hard liquor, heroin, cocaine, and drugs like GHB. He later admitted in his memoir, "I lived so recklessly that life almost didn't allow it." There were mornings he woke up not knowing where he was. Nights he wandered down 6th Avenue just to chase some kind of high. And yet, strangely, he kept going. Not because he wasn't exhausted, but because music was the only thing tethering him to life. Billy Idol, not yet a superstar, had already become a new icon in the making. And people knew, if he didn't crash, he was going to explode. And then, just a year later, with one scream called Rebel Yell, the whole world would be forced to pay attention to that platinum-haired rocker. After years of struggling in New York, under the weight of doubt and the harsh gaze of the music industry, Billy Idol finally reached what he had long pursued, the spotlight. And this time, he didn't just reach it. He made it explode. He released his second solo album, Rebel Yell, and instantly, everything changed. With the title track Rebel Yell kicking off like a scream of defiance, alongside the haunting Eyes Without a Face and the sensual Flesh for Fantasy, Billy was no longer just a lost English rocker in New York. He became a phenomenon. The Rebel Yell album quickly achieved double platinum certification in the US, an extraordinary feat for a solo artist who had only been in America a few years. But numbers were just the surface. What truly made Billy Idol explode was MTV. MTV didn't just play music. It was where Billy became a star that anyone could reach. From housewives in Ohio to rebellious teenagers in California, everyone knew that razor-sharp gaze, that half smile, and that spiked platinum hair. At a time when television was reshaping music, Billy Idol was born for the screen. The White Wedding video, with its dark black and white visuals, the rebellious bride, and close-up shots of Billy's hypnotic eyes, shook young audiences. With Rebel Yell, Billy was no longer a punk dream. He was reality. And American youth, weary of disco's gloss and glam, had found a new icon, a rebel with a heart. 3 years later, Billy kept his momentum with the 1986 album Whiplash Smile, featuring hits like To Be a Lover, Don't Need a Gun, and Sweet 16. Critics hailed him as the leader of the punk pop wave. Fashion houses saw him as the model for modern rock style. And MTV? They called him an essential figure in the Second British Invasion, alongside names like Duran Duran, Eurythmics, and Culture Club. On stage, Billy became a force of nature. His US tours sold out, with tens of thousands braving the rain just to hear him scream the iconic line, "In the midnight hour," she cried, "More, more, more." But fame never came with peace. Once again, scandal found Billy, though this time it wasn't on stage or behind the scenes of a tour, but at an after-party in Los Angeles in 1984. During a heated argument with a music producer over the direction of his next album, tempers flared. Rumors spread that Billy smashed a wine glass on the floor in anger, but he quickly shut down the drama with a simple apology. No dragging it out, no spectacle, just classic Billy, rebellious, but knowing when to stop. In 1990, at the peak of his career, tragedy struck, a horrific motorcycle accident in Hollywood. Billy ran a red light and collided with a car, shattering his right leg. Doctors even considered amputation. He had to undergo multiple surgeries, metal rods were placed in his bones, and he endured months of agonizing pain. Lying in a hospital bed, he questioned whether he'd ever stand on stage again. But music, as always, pulled him back up. And just months after the accident, Billy still released the album Charmed Life, with the standout track Cradle of Love. The song not only became a massive hit, but was nominated for a Grammy, won the MTV Video Music Award for Best Video from a Film, and secured a place in the memory of millions of MTV viewers in the 1990s. The Cradle of Love music video became famous for its subtle provocation. A young, seductive woman enters an older man's apartment, and as Billy Idol's music plays, everything spirals into chaos. The fun fact? Because his leg was still in a cast after the accident, Billy only appeared on a TV screen within the video, and yet he remained just as magnetic. That's the power of an icon. The accident didn't kill Billy Idol. On the contrary, it proved he was indestructible, at least in music. By this point, Billy had been nominated for 3 Grammys, won an MTV award, and received an ASCAP award in 1991. He even ventured into acting, most notably with a memorable cameo in The Wedding Singer, 1998, where he played himself on a plane, helping Adam Sandler win back the girl. And while many punk pop artists of the same era faded into obscurity, Billy came back stronger than ever. In 2005, he released Devil's Playground, his first album in over a decade. Then, in 2014, Kings and Queens of the Underground was born, a declaration that Billy Idol had never truly left. He was just waiting for the right moment to roar again. From a lost soul drifting between London and New York, Billy Idol became a symbol, not just of punk, but of survival. And when the spotlight burned brightest, he began building a lavish life no one saw coming. With an estimated net worth of around $60 million, Billy Idol is not just a music icon. He is the living embodiment of a lifestyle most people only dare to dream of. But what makes Billy's way of life so special isn't the money. It's how he turns every asset, every pleasure, into an extension of his very being. This is not a life of luxury for show. This is a world where punk rock becomes reality. Fast-paced, free, full of character, and glittering in a way that's uniquely Billy Idol. The Hollywood Hills Mansion, a glass fortress of wildness and freedom. Amidst the forest of expensive mansions in Hollywood Hills, Billy Idol once owned a $7 million residence. But this wasn't just any house. Perched at one of the area's highest points, the mansion featured floor-to-ceiling glass walls that unveiled a breathtaking view of the Los Angeles Valley, as if you were flying over the city. The modern interior was infused with underground rock and roll style. A Playboy grotto-style pool snaked through like a man-made stream, now upgraded with glowing LED waterfalls and underwater speakers playing punk rock under shimmering waves. A private cinema room with ultra-deep soundproof black leather walls hung with Billy's old tour posters like fine art. A discreet recording studio in the basement, where he once experimented with unreleased wild tracks. Some say the roar of the guitar from down there could shake the hill itself. And there's more. A secret garage housing a collection of vintage motorcycles, the Harley Bone Shaker and Triumph Bonneville, lit like a museum, each bike a fragment of his rock soul. Faux leopard rugs and black crystal chandeliers dotted the interior, wild yet luxurious. At $7 million, this was more than a home. It was the punk king's fortress where Billy Idol turned rebellious dreams into reality. A temple of freedom and music. Oceanfront Villa in Los Angeles, where punk meets zen. Sold in 2024 for $7.2 million, this villa marked another chapter in Billy's lifestyle, both free-spirited and romantic. The house bore the imprint of modern Japanese aesthetics. Hand-carved solid bronze doors, tinted glass bathrooms like abstract art, koi ponds gleaming at sunset, and a tranquil tatami-style guest house beside a bamboo garden, where Billy used to meditate to find peace after wild days. But don't think he abandoned his punk roots. A massive rooftop with a lava stone fireplace hosted extravagant parties overlooking the Pacific, with the Hollywood sign floating in the background as a reminder of glory. A hidden wine room behind walnut wood walls stored premium Italian reds he'd sip while playing acoustic guitar under the moonlight. Luxurious interiors featured a leather-wrapped pool table, plush red velvet armchairs, and a graffiti mural hand-painted by Billy himself on a sleepless night. This was where he once lived with loved ones, hosting home-cooked Italian dinners, spicy pasta, and tiramisu, echoing with laughter. A small imagined dock behind the house moored a white yacht, ready for surfing trips with friends, blending into the sea. At $7.2 million, this wasn't just a house. It was a palace of contrasts, where punk rock met meditation, where Billy Idol balanced inner fire with the calm of the ocean. AC Cobra 427, a classic beast with a rebel soul. Not a Lamborghini, not a Ferrari, but an AC Cobra 427, a limited edition British muscle car seen in classic Hollywood films. Billy didn't buy cars to show off. He chose this one because its 425 horsepower V8 growl echoed like rebel yell on stage. With a metallic silver body, custom red leather interior, and gleaming chrome exhausts, this Cobra was a moving symbol of refined rebellion. He once drove it through the night along the Pacific Coast Highway, where even treacherous curves couldn't scare someone who survived a horrific motorcycle crash in 1990. In his Hollywood Hills garage, it sat on a rotating pedestal lit with purple LEDs like a punk trophy. Billy once joked, "The Cobra's not a car. It's a beast I've tamed." Valued between $500,000 and $800,000 depending on condition. But for Billy, the price was more than money. It was the spirit of speed and freedom. Once, he let Steve Stevens borrow it for a music video, and the engine's roar shook the whole set. To Billy, the AC Cobra 427 wasn't just transportation, it was a statement. Punk is never dead, only reborn as a classic beast. Ferrari 458 Italia, Italian passion in a rocker's heart. It surprises no one that Billy owns a Ferrari 458 Italia, a sports car hailed as the pinnacle of modern Italian design. But the special part is how he uses it. Not just for gigs, but for cruising through Beverly Hills, stopping at his favorite artisan pizzeria to pick up steaming hot pepperoni slices. Like a love letter to Italian cuisine. The 562 horsepower V8 engine, blood red paint, black Alcantara leather stitched by hand. This Ferrari was Billy's art of speed in motion. He upgraded it with a Bowers & Wilkins sound system, blasting white wedding every time he floored it from 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. In the garage, it rested beside a graffiti mural painted by Billy, as if the car was a piece of his soul. Market value: $90,000 to $140,000 used, but to Billy, worth every penny. A symbol of luxury and undying passion. He once drove it to receive his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2023, making the crowd turn heads. For Billy, the Ferrari 458 Italia wasn't just a car. It was the Italian spirit fused with a rocker's heart. A reminder that life is meant to be lived in full flame. Lamborghini Gallardo, punk boldness transformed into speed. Among Billy's car collection, the Lamborghini Gallardo stood for decisiveness and limit pushing. He chose the 570 horsepower V10 version, with a luxurious red and black interior, carbon fiber steering wheel, and tight race seats. Pure idol style. He once drove it across the Nevada desert after a show, letting the dust and engine roar wash away the pressure of the stage. The body was painted glossy black with neon yellow streaks like stage lights. Billy dubbed it his punk warhorse. In the garage, it was fitted with a lift system, ready to bolt out at any time. Valued between $50,000 and $120,000. But for Billy, the price was fair for a machine that turned speed into freedom. It appeared in a Rolling Stone photo shoot, with exhaust smoke curling into artistic spirals. Once, Billy drove it to a charity event in LA, and the Gallardo's roar silenced the room before he stepped out. To him, the Gallardo wasn't just a car, it was punk rock forged into metal, an eternal flame on endless roads. Austin 7, a piece of British history in a California garage. It may seem strange, but Billy Idol, Britain's rebellious son, kept a tiny classic Austin 7 from the 1920s, often dubbed the British Model T. To him, it wasn't just an antique, it was a living memory of the narrow streets of Dorking, where young William Broad once dreamed of the stage. Painted emerald green, polished wooden interior, a modest 10-horsepower engine that still ran smoothly. A perfect contrast to Billy's supercars. He upgraded it with tiny crystal headlights and hidden Bluetooth speakers, playing old punk tracks as he cruised through Malibu. Valued between $10,000 and $30,000, but to Billy, priceless, a bridge between past and present. He kept it in a corner of his Hollywood Hills garage, beside a black and white childhood family photo. Once, he even drove it to a fan meet, shocking everyone with the punk king's humility. To Billy, the Austin 7 is a reminder that no matter how lavish life gets, he never forgets his British roots. If cars reflect style, then motorcycles are the lifeblood of Billy Idol's lifestyle. Harley-Davidson Bone Shaker, the immortal two-wheel legend. The 1985 Harley-Davidson Wide Glide, nicknamed Bone Shaker, was Billy's most beloved motorcycle. He rode it across LA throughout the 80s. With a 1,340 cubic centimeter V-twin engine and custom design, it's now valued over $150,000. It was on this very bike that Billy suffered a near-fatal crash in 1990, almost losing a leg. But instead of parting with it, he kept it. Today, it's proudly displayed at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a piece of punk's immortal soul. Punk Garage, a motorcycle collection stamped with song titles. Beyond Bone Shaker, Billy owns at least 3 to 4 other custom Harleys. Standouts include Rebel Ride, a customized Dyna worth $40,000 to $60,000, and Cradle Cruiser, an ivory white Sportster with silver highlights, valued at $30,000 to $45,000. Each is named after a song: Rebel Yell, Cradle of Love, White Wedding, all personally ridden by Billy along the California coast, a ritual of living. The yacht, the sea, and Punk share one thing: unruliness. Though rarely seen publicly, media rumors say Billy owns a mid-size yacht docked in California. And why not, for a man who loves freedom so deeply? About 50 feet long, painted pearl white with black accents, the yacht is named Rebel Wave, punk to the core. White leather interiors, polished teak floors, and a mini recording studio on deck where Billy writes lyrics at sunset, or replays unreleased demos through luxury Bose speakers. He prefers to captain it himself along the coast, from Malibu to Laguna, letting the ocean waves blend with the sound of electric guitar in his headphones. No loud parties, no flashing lights, just Billy, the sea, and the untamed wind. Estimated value: $1 to $2 million. But to him, it's worth much more, where Punk finds calm in the middle of the ocean. Once, he invited Steve Stevens on board to celebrate 40 years of Rebel Yell, and they played acoustic under the stars. Secret getaways, where Billy finds inspiration. Few know that Billy Idol is an avid traveler. Besides world tours, he secretly vacations in places like Thailand, Japan, Italy, and Spain, destinations rich in aesthetic culture. He avoids crowded resorts, seeking out hidden villas and secluded beaches where he can both meditate and write lyrics. These quiet trips often spark the beginnings of new songs. But Billy doesn't just live by assets, he lives by inspiration. And his pleasures are deeply personal. Punk couture, when skulls and silver become a way of life. Billy's fashion is inseparable from his music. He owns a collection of custom leather jackets made in London, each hand-stitched with real silver skull motifs. Every piece bears a personal symbol: the I for Idol, album titles, or hit release dates. His jewelry rivals that of a designer: skull rings, solid silver bracelets, Gothic lettered necklaces, all reflecting his controlled rebellion. Personal habits: Italian cooking and dawn cycling. Beyond the spotlight, Billy lives simply in his private moments. He enjoys cooking Italian food himself, especially fresh pasta and ragu, using recipes passed down from his mother. Every morning, he rides his bike around Hollywood Hills, often without headphones, just to hear his heartbeat, the wind, and ponder new melodies. These moments feed his spirit, helping him stay grounded in a world once full of chaos. Though he hasn't confirmed owning a private jet, Billy Idol frequently flies on private planes for tours, international work trips, or secret vacations. Many photos show him stepping off a sleek jet, black shades on, leather jacket flowing, like a scene from a vintage MTV video. To Billy, private flights aren't about showing off, but about protecting his time, space, and style. Every pleasure, every detail in Billy Idol's personal life carries the mark of his character. Not to make noise, but to declare one truth: punk is not just a genre. Punk is a way of life. And to Billy, it's the art of living true to oneself, from the stage to the everyday. Billy Idol's lifestyle isn't just luxurious, it's a declaration of life from someone who once got lost, once burned bright, and now still lives true. Every mile, every note, every moment. Behind the spotlight, Billy Idol's other life. Behind the stage's dazzling lights, the screams, the speed, and the spotlight, Billy Idol did not retreat into the shadows. He chose a different role, that of a builder, a giver. An icon remembered not only for his past, but also for the way he continues to live in the present. Personal finance, from music royalties to real estate investments. With over 4 decades in the arts, Billy Idol has amassed an estimated fortune of around $60 million, primarily from music royalties, income from touring, acting roles, and his best-selling memoir, Dancing with Myself. In addition to investing in real estate across Los Angeles, Billy poured money into a small LA studio, where he once helped a young punk band record their debut album, a quiet but profound act. It was his way of giving back to the community that once lifted him up to ignite the flame for the next generation of rebels. Charity. When punk knows how to love. Billy Idol doesn't often talk about charity, but he acts. One of his major contributions was at Neil Young's Bridge School benefit concert in 1988, where Billy performed to raise funds for children with disabilities to access education. In 1989, he again joined the charity concert performance of Tommy by The Who, standing shoulder to shoulder with rock legends for causes greater than themselves. Billy Never Idles, an unexpected campaign. In 2020, amidst the environmental crisis, Billy Idol unexpectedly became the face of the Billy Never Idles campaign in New York City, encouraging people to turn off their car engines when parked to reduce emissions. With Billy's trademark sneer next to the slogan, "If you love New York, shut off your engine," the campaign became a phenomenon. Not just for its humor, but for the seriousness beneath that rebellious exterior. Supporting wildfire victims when the heart goes beyond the music. In 2023, at a show at the Kia Forum, Billy decided to donate $5 from every ticket sold to the American Red Cross to support victims of wildfires in Southern California. He didn't stop there. He pledged to personally match the total amount raised. Seeing families lose their homes, Billy couldn't stay still. He quietly used proceeds from his own performances to help them rebuild their lives. It wasn't an act of celebrity. It was the compassion of someone who understands loss. Sustainable living and health, when Idol becomes a role model. Today, Billy lives quite healthily. He's a part-time vegetarian, practices Pilates, and maintains a consistent gym routine. After years of addiction, Billy turned the gym into his new stage, where he battles himself daily to keep the punk fire burning without needing any stimulants. He once said, "My body used to be a battlefield. Now it's where I live." A Brit, an American, 2 homelands, 1 spirit. In 2018, Billy Idol officially became a U.S. citizen after more than 3 decades of living and contributing to the country. No fanfare, no press, just a quiet photo, a subtle smile, and a naturalization certificate in hand. That act spoke louder than any song. Billy didn't just connect with America through rock. He gave it his heart. In his youth, Billy was a rule breaker. But as he grew older, he chose to build through music, through wealth, through action. And that's why, for people like us, who lived through the golden era of rock, Billy Idol isn't just a name. He's a reminder that rebellion and love can walk hand in hand. Behind the platinum blonde hair and rebellious lyrics lies a Billy Idol who once fell hard into the whirlpools of fame, drugs, and loneliness. His life was filled with scandals that shook the world. But what truly matters is this: Billy survived. And that survival is what made him great. Drowning in drugs, when rebellion turns into spiritual suicide. At the height of his fame in the 1980s, Billy Idol lived like a true rock star, sleeping by day, partying by night, heroin in his pocket, alcohol in his veins. He described himself in his memoir, Dancing with Myself, as a guy screaming in the studio, then collapsing in the bathroom from an overdose. Billy was addicted to heroin and later cocaine and GHB, the latter once leaving him unconscious outside a nightclub in LA in 1994. When he woke up, he couldn't even remember who he was. And that was the first time he was afraid of himself. I used to think I had control over everything, but when I saw my son's face, I realized I couldn't live like that anymore. Rebel Yell and the standoff with the label. When an artist chooses the extreme path, few know that the legendary Rebel Yell album almost didn't get released the way Billy intended. When the label refused the cover design he wanted, Billy secretly handed the original master tapes to his heroin dealer as a kind of hostage situation. Only after the label agreed to change the cover to his liking did he retrieve the tapes and allow the album to be released. A crazy move? Maybe. But it was also a declaration of artistic integrity from someone who would rather risk it all than do something he didn't believe in. The 1990 motorcycle crash, when death came closer than ever. In the early morning of February 6, 1990, Billy Idol sped through a Hollywood intersection on his Harley Bone Shaker without stopping for the red light. He was hit head-on by a car. His thigh bone was shattered, his right arm broken, and he suffered severe bleeding. Doctors said saving his leg was nothing short of a miracle. The accident forced him to give up a role that had been written specifically for him in Terminator 2. But that moment became the starting point of a rebirth. I survived. So that means I have to really live. 1991. When rage stopped being sexy. In another infamous incident, Billy was accused of assaulting a woman at a West Hollywood hotel. The case led to lawsuits, compensation, and intense media backlash. Facing public criticism, Billy didn't point fingers. He stayed silent and withdrew from the spotlight. He later called it one of the ugliest chapters of my life, and the turning point where he realized he was losing himself. Thailand, 1989. A vacation. Politely shut down by the army. After breaking up with longtime girlfriend Perry Lister, Billy flew to Thailand to numb the pain. But what began as a getaway quickly spiraled into a multi-day party of excess. Music, women, alcohol, drugs, it all escalated to the point that the Thai military had to step in and ask him to leave the hotel for security reasons. The story became rock legend, but it also marked the first time the world saw that rebellion stops being fun when it loses control. Cyberpunk, going too far just to find the edge. In 1993, Billy released Cyberpunk, a bold project blending electronic music and internet culture. He even included a floppy disk and digital imagery, well ahead of its time. The album flopped commercially. Critics slammed it. But Billy didn't see it as a failure, rather, a test. Even though Cyberpunk failed, I never saw it as a loss. I called it a ticket to see how far I could go. The 2018 ghosting scandal, the Rebel, and the broken promise. In 2018, Billy was sued by a fan who claimed he ghosted her after promising to meet post-concert. She said he invited her, she spent money to get to Las Vegas, but after the show, no one replied to her messages. The case sparked heated public debate. Some defended him, others criticized. Billy said nothing. He let the storm pass. Sometimes, the most mature reaction is no reaction at all. Rebirth, when the rebel learns how to keep the fire alive. All those falls, from addiction, scandal, to near death, transformed Billy Idol from a madman into a survivor. He now lives what he calls a California sober lifestyle. An occasional glass of wine, but free from all hard substances. He works out, eats vegetarian, meditates, writes music, and every morning he rides his bike along the Malibu coast, where the crashing waves mirror the chaos of his past. He rides his bike by the sea, watches the waves break, and realizes rebellion doesn't need drugs. It just needs a heart that still beats. Billy Idol didn't give up. And in the world of rock and roll, that's greater than success. Billy Idol was no angel. He hit rock bottom. But that's why when he stood up, the light that shone through his cracks was impossible to look away from. For those who grew up in the golden age of rock, Billy Idol isn't just a name. He's living proof that rebellion and redemption can coexist.